So I wrote about the wonderful world of sumo in my book, the little book of ikigai, and in it I discussed how ikigai plays a really important role in the world of sumo wrestlers, especially even if you do it really poorly. You can stay in the world of sumo as long as you like. Mind you, only 1 in 10 sumo wrestlers make it to the sekitori rank, and unless you become a sekitori, you cannot really hope to lead a respectable and sustainable life. Otherwise, you would be forced to be living in the small stable, and you wouldn't have the time to for your private activities, and you can't hope to have a family. But even with that really dire prospect of living in the underclass of the small world. Many small wrestlers actually choose to remain there because they love sumo. Have you been to a small boot, the grand tournament? It's not just two naked men bumping into each other. Well, you do have that. You do have two naked fat men bumping into each other. Well, mind you, the small wrestlers are not just fat; they are all muscles. So it's probably one of the most intense sports in the world. So it's not about two fat men wearing a black diaper and bumping into each other, as it's comically depicted in the West from time to time. It is a whole ceremony. I mean, it's a ritual. And did you know that in the small ring there is God buried, the symbol of God? So after all the boots are done, in the final day, on the final day of the small grand tournament, the God symbol would be dug out of the ring, and there'll be a doage in which the small wrestlers would, lift the gyoji, the judge, and it's so, or everything is so rich, authentic, and there's this sheer music of beauty in the small tournament. I mean, you might think that small boot are typically end in a few minutes at the most, and quite often they would end in 10 seconds or so. So before that, there is this build-up of tension, when they do the shikiri movement, and you know, um, if it's a really important match, like that who a really decisive match between two good performing wrestlers, and depending on the result, it'll be decided who would win the Grand Sumo tournament. There's this really sheer build-up of heat and tension towards the last shikiri, and it's quite fascinating to see that. But even for the you know normal boots, I mean those between wrestlers who are not doing so well, there's this sheer beauty of visual music, so to speak. I mean, the underclass rikishi wrestlers, they would bring the zabuton, which is a huge, in this case, a really huge, how do you explain, cushion with the wrestler's name on it, and the yobidashi. These are the men who make necessary movements in preparation for the boots. And they receive the zabuton, and they put it on the right place for the incoming sumo wrestler rikishi to sit on. All these movements. So you might think that the interval of a few minutes when the rikishi sumo wrestlers just repeat the shikiri, and build up in the build up to the real thing, might you might think that boring, but it's far from boring. It's the sheer music of everything. I mean, the that Yobidashi, man, making all these small movements, and the judge, making all these ritual movements, and the oyakata, the five judges, clad in a black formal suit, sitting there, and all these things. It's everything is in constantly in motion, and you might think that this prolonged interval between boot is boring. It's not. It's the sheer breeze and beauty of the whole thing. So you are in constant state of flow, so to speak, in this beautiful world of sumo, and every second counts. So if once you get addicted to this world of sumo, even if you do not perform well, you would love to stay in the world of sumo because that's what you would love to do. So in this book, I discussed some aspects of the ikigai that supports the sumo wrestlers, and I'm sure there are many more than what is described in this book. But uh, you know, it's a great testimony of the fact that money and success are not everything. I mean, if you even if you do not succeed in a world, and even if you don't make a lot of money, uh, for the sheer love of the world you live in, you can keep doing it. And I think this is a more sustainable worldview than one in which the only measure of success is money and social status and so on. I mean, even if you do not have money, even if you don't have a social status, you can be in the sheer breeze, and that is really beautifully testified by the you know tens and hundreds of sumo wrestlers who stay in the world of sumo just for the sheer beauty, just for the sheer joy of it. And you would have to go to Kokugikan, Ryogoku Kokugikan, to believe it. It's a world entirely of its own, and it's a world probably far removed from the normal walks of life, but in which you can find the true essence of what constitutes our happiness and the significance of living.